6:30 CHED Afternoons with Jaylen Nye. Weekdays at 2 on 6:30 CHED.
Well, my friends, you'll remember over the past number of weeks around the world, people watched in desperation and horror as the Taliban regained control of Afghanistan. Then more desperation and horror as we watched Canadians, Americans, Afghans, other allies try to get out of that country before the Americans left Kabul's airport. We saw desperate actions. We saw horrific attacks, but we also heard about daring rescue efforts, and we are learning more and more about the work of some of those efforts, including Task Force Pineapple, the so-called Pineapple Express, an all-volunteer group of American veterans of the Afghan war who shepherded hundreds to safety in incredibly dangerous conditions. A member of that team is Lieutenant Jason Redmond, a former Navy SEAL who served in Afghanistan and Iraq. He has been awarded the Purple Heart and Bronze Star Medal with Valor. Jason is also a published author, and we are thrilled to have him join our show today. Jason, welcome to 6:30 CHED in Edmonton, Alberta.
Jaylen, thank you so much for having me on.
Now, tell me, how did this start? Who started Task Force Pineapple, the Pineapple Express? Give us a history of this.
Yeah, exactly. Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann is a retired Green Beret, so one of my special operations brethren. And when the country started to fall, his interpreter that had worked with Scott, a special operations, an Afghan commando special operations interpreter, reached out and said, hey, we're in trouble. The Taliban's coming through, and obviously we are high risk. You know, they have already said they're going to come after anybody that worked with the Americans. So reached out to Scott and said, can you help me? And Scott basically relied on his skills as a special forces guy, reached out to some of his other friends, guys like me and other individuals, and said, hey, we need to get this individual out. And basically stood up a virtual underground railroad relying on many of the different people he knew, both Afghan commandos, Afghan friends that were on the ground, and utilizing technology and utilizing knowledge of the area, created a network that we could help navigate this individual through Kabul, and then relying on individuals that Scott knew and others of us knew inside the Karzai International Airport, managed to get him inside and safe. And when that occurred, you know, they realized, man, we've got a lot of people who are stuck here in dangerous positions. We should make this a bigger thing. And that's exactly what happened. I actually came in right after that because I had a friend who reached out to me who said, hey, I've got an interpreter, I need help. And I called Scott. Scott said, hey, man, you've got the skills too. Let's do this. So I ended up helping to shepherd a family that unfortunately is still stuck in Afghanistan now. But it became the Pineapple Express, and we are still committed to try and enable people to be safe and hopefully ultimately find them a way out of Afghanistan.
You know what, Jay, there are people on the ground there were people in the ground, maybe still are on the ground in Kabul doing this work, but we talk about a network. It's just not people on the ground there. It is people around the world. Can you give us an idea, of course, you know, within, you know, the safety, the security ops, about that network and how it worked, because it had to have been so incredibly fascinating and tense when you have people moving through the airport and maybe getting messages through WhatsApp or whatever it is, telling them what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, absolutely, Jaylen. It was, we were getting near real-time intelligence on the ground from our partners. Obviously, this large network, I mean, a lot of former intelligence individuals, former intelligence operatives and special operations guys and gals from around the world, leveraging all of our networks to get this information. So we were able to, technology is an amazing thing now. It gives us, I won't get into all the details. There is a lot of stuff that when I was brand new in the military, only the military had access to. And nowadays it's pretty incredible. There are things that everyday citizens, if they know how to put them together, can be very powerful tools. And we utilized a lot of those tools to be able to enable us to see and collaborate with what was happening on the ground. And it was crazy and scary. I mean, we were getting reports of, I know the family that we were trying to shepherd to safety frequently was encountering the Taliban, and we would work to move them around to avoid the Taliban. The Taliban was very determined not to allow special immigrant visa holders and even American citizens to get out. They didn't want them to get to the airport. They were preventing that. And we have multiple reports of that occurring. So it was a tense night. There were instances where, unfortunately, families were injured. They were beaten by the Taliban. The Taliban frequently, there would be large groups of people trying to get to the airfield, and the Taliban would shoot over them, shoot up in the air or shoot directly above them. Thankfully, there were never reports of them shooting into our crowds of people trying to get out. But it would cause a stampede. It would cause fear. And one of the families we had, a 6-year-old, was almost trampled to death. There was a woman, unfortunately, trampled to death. So these were real-world dangerous situations.
Jay, the last numbers that I heard that the Pineapple Express, as far as the number of people that helped to get out, it was around 600 or 700. Is that right?
Yeah, we are actually up to about 1,000 right now. Although we are taking a tactical pause.
Yep.
Kind of letting the battlefield settle and seeing what next steps are. We are focused on getting our people to safety inside Afghanistan, so working on moving them around, getting them to layup sites, safe locations, shelter, food, clothing, medical as they need it. One of the stories that's pretty amazing, one of the things that Task Force Pineapple is focused on, how do we help these people in all aspects? And one of the shepherds reached out, and one of the women, her husband was captured by the Taliban, and she went into early labor because of the stress of that. She was being cared for by 3 other women, reached out to our shepherd and just said, I need help. And actually, our shepherd, who was taking care of this individual, their wife was a midwife and got on the call with that individual who translated. We got a translator on also and translated the medical advice to be able to take care of this woman and save her, because she obviously was unable to go to the hospital. So these are some of the things that we're able to do.
Lieutenant Jay Redmond, a former Navy SEAL and a member of Task Force Pineapple, which did some amazing work on the ground around the world in Kabul over the past number of weeks. Jay, before I run out of time, gosh, I could talk to you for the next 2 hours about this, but when you look at what happened and the evacuation efforts of all of the countries, what could have been done better? What needed to be done better?
Jalen, I mean, there's a lot I could talk about with that, but, it never does any good. There's always time to think about things like that or point fingers or armchair quarterback, as we say here, after the fact. Right now, Task Force Pineapple is continuing to be focused on how do we help these people? How do we keep them safe in Afghanistan right now, and then ultimately working with our Department of State, working with our Department of Defense, how do we get them out of Afghanistan? And that's what Task Force Pineapple is focused on. For us, everybody wants to really politicize this, but for us, it's about the mission, and our mission is to help as many people as we can. We want to honor the promise our government made that they were going to help out these Afghan allies who supported us.
Jay, the Taliban is trying to, I guess, prove to the world or suggest to the world that it has changed, that it's not as harsh or as brutal, as horrific as it was before. The Taliban saying that it will allow people to travel freely. Do you believe that?
Jalen, I have a hard time believing that. I've fought against the Taliban. They're a ruthless organization. We already know from individuals we have on the ground, the families that are scattered, that there are instances where the Taliban is showing the same old brutal tactics it used 20 years ago when we first started fighting them. But I tell you what, I challenge them. Hey, you truly want to be a legitimate government, show it. Show it. Show the world you have the ability. Get rid of these human rights violations. You gave your word. You were going to allow these people to get out of Afghanistan. Coordinate with our government, coordinate with other governments, and show you have the ability to be a legitimate government. But as a guy who fought alongside you and watched your tactics, or a guy who fought against you and watched your tactics, I don't believe it.
I swear to goodness.
But prove me different, or prove me wrong.
I swear to goodness, all of this is going to be one hell of a movie somewhere down the road. I mean, just the roller coaster ride that all of you must have been going through, the tenseness, and I get your training. I mean, your training is impeccable, but having gone through this and watching that for over 1,000 people, Jay, must have been something else.
It was amazing, and it's still tough because we have so many families. So many of the families that Task Force Pineapple was trying to get out, we did not get out. They're still there, and I, especially the family I was trying to get out, I pray that they will get out. I want to meet them, and they have 2 young kids. I want to see them someday. I hope they will be here in America or somewhere in the free world to be able to grow up and achieve, whatever dreams they want to achieve.
Lieutenant Jay Redmond joining me this afternoon. I sure appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Jalen, my honor. And if anybody out there is looking to assist, we have operationrecovery.org, and we will continue to honor that promise our government made and work with them to try and get these Afghan allies out.
Thank you. All the best to you, Jay. Take care now.
Jalen, thank you so much. Good night.
Bye-bye.